Hello, happy National Scrapbooking Day, everyone. I have my National Scrapbooking Day or International Scrapbooking Day kit picked out here, which I did a video about picking it. And then I have 3 photos from my daughter's play that I want to scrapbook. And today I'm going to be scrapbooking for the first challenge of the day, which is the bingo challenge. And so here's the bingo card. If you are participating in this challenge, this is posted on the Facebook group, but I will leave a link to it right here as well. So this is the bingo card. So the way that a bingo challenge works is we have this bingo card here, and in each of the cells is a different scrappy task for you to take on. So the goal of this challenge is to complete a full line anywhere on your bingo card. So it could be any of these horizontal. So in order to do this one, for example, you'd have to use gold and mixed media and yellow and do some stamping and use something floral, all in the same layout. In order to do that line, you can do a line in any direction, any of these lines, and this diagonal or that diagonal as well. Pardon me. So that is the challenge, and I am going to do this center vertical. So I'm going to do the N. So I've got use yellow, use brads, a free space, thickers as embellishments, and using 3 photos. So I am up to that task. I'm going to try to use thickers as embellishments. That is my main task. I think that the other 3 things are easy. I've got yellow in my kit. I can pick out some brads to use, I'm sure. I've got 3 photos, but my big challenge here is going to be to figure out how to use thickers as an embellishment. So in addition to my kit that I've already got picked out here, I'm going to use this as my background paper. This is a paper by Pink Paisley. It looks like it's fairly old. It's from Daily Junk, House of 3. Anyhow, it is, the reason I picked it is because it picks up on the pink in Olivia's costume. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make these photos work with this kit, because this kit has lots of citrusy colors and some blues. It doesn't have much pink and purple. It doesn't have any real pink or purple, with the exception of this pattern paper here, which happens to have both pink and purple. So it's going to be pretty important that this paper make it onto this particular layout. And so I'm going to use this as my background paper. This is going to be one of the main pattern papers, and then I'm going to pick a couple of other patterns based on what's in the photos and what's in these papers already. So I'm thinking some of this might make it, and some of, let's see here, this strip might make it. It has lots of the colors from the photos and from that background paper. And this, thinking maybe something like this, because this is in the blue on the background paper. So I'm going to start with these. I'm not using my inspiration paper at this point. It was the inspiration for the kit, but I'm not going to use it on this layout necessarily. We shall see if I draw anything else from this kit. I'm going to just put my kit papers aside. I'm thinking this is a very crazily colored selection of papers so far. Maybe I will eliminate this one. I definitely have to use yellow though, and there is a little bit of yellow in here, but I don't think there's quite enough yellow to meet the challenge. I mean, there's yellow in the flowers and there's yellow there. I need more yellow. So I'm going to, first of all, I do have these, and I have these. So let's see if I can grab those papers again. So I had these which didn't make it to the kit, but they were, I guess, sort of like my second level of potentials. So this, for example, might look nice. And it's lots of yellow. This also might look nice. Oh yeah, that looks quite nice actually. I might actually get rid of this and pick that. Actually, I really like that. That is what I'm going to go with. Forget this. I have this is Hopeful from the Yes Please collection from Amy Tangerine. This is a piece of Scraptastic paper called Hooray. This is also Yes Please from Amy Tangerine. The paper is called Play. This is Yes Please from Amy Tangerine. It's called Understand. And this is crepe paper from the Confetti collection. So arranging these photos, I have a couple of different options. I can arrange them based on timing. So this was first in the play. So this is a scene from the play. This is her coming out at the end to give a bow, and then this is her after the play. So that kind of makes good sense for me. The other way that makes good sense, I mean, basically I want to keep these two pictures that look like they're taken on that are taken on the stage together, and this one could be separate because it's sort of, you know, a close-up of her. That looks good too because these are both dark, and so having them down lower is good. And this one kind of, she, you know, the main picture of her kind of stands out. I think I might go with it looking like this. I think this is the layout that I'm going to go with. So my photos are like this. This block here can be a title and some journaling, or it can be just journaling, or it could be a title only, and then maybe I could do my journaling around the block. I don't know. I haven't quite decided. So here I am just, I for a second I thought I might want to match those three photos on the pattern paper, but on the yellow and white striped paper, but I very quickly decided that I would rather use this blue pattern paper as the mat. Even this, I was half thinking maybe I should have a darker mat around this, but it turns out I'm glad that I used this softer paper just for less contrast, because it ends up that there's going to be a lot going on this layout, and contrast is not really something that I needed more of. I accidentally put glue on the wrong side of that paper. So what I did here was I just took a blank piece of photo paper because I wanted the mat around the empty square to be photo paper so that it went with the mats around the other photos, the other squares in this little mosaic or collage or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so I just wanted it to match, so that's what I did. And it makes for an easy way to add a square without having to measure anything, because I knew that the other papers were exactly 4 inches wide because they were printed on the same kind of photo paper. So now I'm going to take this strip off of the bottom of the background paper, and I'm actually cutting it down 1/2 inch on 2 sides so that it is 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. And that, what I was planning to do was to mat the photo, or to mat that gray background paper on this floral pattern paper, which would give me an outline all the way around. I ended up, and I had to cut out the guts of that piece of paper because that's the only piece I have. And as I mentioned, I'm going to want to put more of that pattern somewhere else on this layout. And I think I'll also want it for other layouts that I do with this kit. So I changed my mind here, and I decided to over mat this. So this is my reverse matting technique. I've done it a couple of other times. I used to do it quite a lot back in the day when I first started scrapbooking. And I have done it fairly recently, like within the past year, I've done it. I can't remember which layout it was, but now I'm just taking the strip off of that Amy Tangerine paper. I did mention the names of the papers at the beginning. Now I did a little bit of this without my camera on, so I apologize for that. I basically just took my ruler and tore up the insides of that floral paper so that it's torn all the way around, and the gray pattern paper is just showing behind. Then I just took one of the strips and I'm going to add it to that little square. And I'm also going to add that little strip of chevron pieces. And here I am, and I tore that piece a little bit too small, and it also didn't have enough white showing. Like I wanted to really emphasize the torn edges, so I wanted more of the white to be showing. So I'm just going to size that up so that it goes right in that square, just like that. And I love how all the torn edges add just this little bit of franticness. I don't know, maybe not frantic, that might be overstating it a little bit, but I wanted this layout to be crazy and weird and whimsical, even though it is very lined up. So I'm struggling with how to do that. I guess I was kind of trying to execute an idea without really, it was just kind of in the back of my mind. I didn't quite think it through enough. If I had thought it through enough, maybe I wouldn't have used a collage approach for these photos. I'm just checking to see if I have all of the letters to spell out Wonderland. And my thought is that I might put some Alice in Wonderland related words all around the outside of this layout, and that would not be the title, but be an embellishment. So that these words would be embellishments that support the theme of my layout. So I'm going to spell out Wonderland with these gorgeous, yummy glitter thickers. They're foam glitter thickers, and they're quite old, and they're a little bit dry, like they're starting to stick a little bit too much to the backing, but that's okay because, they still stick fine to the paper. So there's Wonderland. That fits very nicely there. And I just pulled up the lyrics to the song, just like the title theme song to this play. And so I had some of the lyrics in mind, and I'm going to put Wonderland, over the hill, or Underland. And those are going to be my phrases, I guess, embellishment phrases. And I'm putting them all the way around the layout because I'm kind of symbolizing the kind of like the running around in circles that seems to feel like it happens in the play. And I didn't think I'd have enough letters for the word the, so I put the in a different font, but it looks like it might blend in. And so I thought, and I also didn't have an L, so I just cut a part of the T off, and that makes a perfect L. Anyhow, it turns out that I did have enough letters for the word the, so I'm going to replace that. At this place, I'm still not entirely sure if I'm going to have a fourth phrase along the bottom, but a part of me knows that if I do that, I'll run out of places for the journaling, and so I want to keep the bottom for journaling. So there I had to cut another T in order to make that L for the word land. So there we go. That's the main structure of the layout. And now I'm just checking to make sure that I can spell out the word the, and I can. I'm missing an E, but I do have a 3, so I will use that. T-H, and then I'm looking to see if I really want to use the 3 or if maybe I want to add an extra arm to the F or whatever, but I decided to go with the 3. So here we are. The structure of the layout is pretty much set. And I like how this layout looks like it's kind of like it's busting through from the other side. I kind of like that with the way that the paper is curled up all the way around the layout. It's very subtle. I kind of wish it was more bold, like if there was more of a contrast between the back side of that floral paper and the front side of the floral paper, then it would give a really bold look of crashing through, but here it's very subtle. So I'm spelling out the letters for the words Cheshire cat's tail. because that's the part that Liv played in this play. And the name of that font is called Twilight, and I love those. There are 286 of those in a package, and that is a lot of letter stickers, and I have used those over the years. I guess I've had those for a couple of years now, and I love, love, love them, and I think I need to buy more because I'm getting to the point where I'm running out. It's just such a great long title font because there's uppercase and lowercase, and they're small, so tons and tons of them fit in a thicker package. So now I'm thinking about filling up the space, and I'm not entirely sure. I don't really love this idea. Even as I do it, I put the two V's, and I thought maybe I could spread them out because they are foam, so you can kind of move them a little bit. I thought maybe I could like spread them out so that they looked more like chevrons than V's, and then I didn't quite know, so I had some asterisks for two asterisks for around one of them, and then the V's for around another, and I didn't have another decoration for the corners of another one, so I just cut the W's into V's, and I thought I'd use like chevrons around the words on the left and the right, and then asterisks around the words on the top. But I'm not going to do that. I didn't love the idea even as I prepared for it, but I thought I would see it through and just see if I liked it. So now I had to move all of those words. I left them all on the wax paper, and I had to move them all so that I could take my layout over to my sewing machine. But first, I need to pull up that little strip of colorful chevrons, and I need to remove one of the foam adhesive dots that's on the back of it. I had pop dotted both of the ends, which I often do, but I had also pop dotted the middle so that that strip would stand out further than the strip behind it. But now that I'm going to do some sewing, I decided to take that off so that I can sew right on it. Here we are over at my sewing machine, and I'm just putting on the zigzag stitch, and there we go. So I'm going to sew right along that chevron border in a zigzag stitch, and then I'm going to sew 2 straight stitches as well. There we go. And then you'll see that I also brought over my background, and so woo, I'm going super fast there. I remember in home ec class, they used to give out speeding tickets if your machine went too fast. I got a couple of speeding tickets back in the day. Anyhow, I am sewing around the border of this, and I'm going to do it twice just to give it that kind of messy, doodly, whimsical type of a look. I didn't want to overdo it. I kind of thought about making it really swirly here. Again, I think I might have used too much restraint here. I might have been too conservative with this layout. In the back of my mind, I kept thinking whimsical, but then not doing anything whimsical. It's not enough to just think it. You have to actually do something. Anyhow, here I am just cutting off the little threads from the stitching and putting some washi tape to keep my threads from coming undone. And now I'm going to use my ATG to just glue down the center. And I'm trying to center it, so I always use my grid mat and make sure that my layout is lined up so that it makes it a little bit easier to center things. And then I'm just taking a few minutes to tear up even more of that edging. Yeah, it turns out that as I narrate this, I think of all kinds of ways that it could be more whimsical, and I didn't do any of those things in the layout, so it ends up not being very whimsical at all. So anyhow, I am just thinking about which brads I might use, because that was part of the bingo challenge, was to use brads for the strip that I decided to do, for the line that I decided to do. And there was a clock, and so I couldn't resist, of course, putting a clock on an Alice in Wonderland layout. And so I'm going to take that clock brad, and then I have that yellow brad. And here's my challenge with these brads. Some of them have gold trim on them, and some of them have silver trim, and I want them all to be the same. So the clock has silver trim, so I can only choose from my silver trimmed, because I'm setting this restriction on myself, which I didn't actually have to do, but because I'm doing it that way, I am restricted in what I can pick. And so yeah, I'm looking through my brads. It's going to actually take me a while. The other thing is that I am limiting myself to the brads that I have that have the little metal around the outside of it, instead of, I have some brads that are just plain colored brads and they don't have that little metal trim on them, and I'm not using those. So I couldn't find another brad that would balance nicely with that yellow one. So I picked that blue and yellow one, and they just seemed to be too different from one another. So I took 2 enamel dots and I added it to the plain yellow one, and it kind of balances off a little bit better with the blue and yellow enamel dot, or not enamel dot, brad. And so I'm gonna sit on that thought for a little while and place my title. This is what I do when I need to think about something, is I usually kind of change gears and do something else on my layout. And once you've already chosen your title and laid it out on wax paper, putting it on the layout is less brain intensive. And so I can kind of chew that over, that thought about what am I going to do with the cluster of brads. The other thing I'm thinking about here is the cluster of brads that's going to be beside the word tail. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to use a thicker, like a sticker, to act as an anchor for the cluster of brads that I want to put there. Normally when I scrapbook, I would put a sticker behind anything that I put, just because I like anchoring things. It kind of makes it feel like the things I'm putting on the page belong there. But I'm thinking about not doing it for this layout. So that's what I'm mulling over while I place these. There we go. And I'm just pushing up the paper, like the edge paper, as I encounter it, so that the letters, I don't want the letters to be on that floral paper. I want them to look like this whole layout was actually on the gray background paper, and then it kind of pushed through the floral paper, and the floral paper is kind of torn and curling up to accommodate this layout coming forward, if that makes any sense. It's a concept. It's not very literal. Yeah. So here I am. You see me, I'm just like pulling up that paper there so that the U can look like it's pushing through. Again, it's very subtle. If I weren't saying this, you probably wouldn't notice it. So that means I probably didn't execute it very well. And again, I think if there was a higher contrast paper, or if I had left more of it that wasn't glued down, which I would have had to have not trimmed down the gray paper in order for that to happen, because the glue is right along the edge of the gray paper. So what the problem that I have is that the gray paper that's on the very bottom layer is smaller, because I cut it down because it was going to be on the top, but since it's underneath, it's smaller than the floral paper, which means there's only so much of that floral paper that the gray under paper can stick to. Ugh, that's a hard thing to describe. I hope you guys made sense of that. So I couldn't move my adhesive strip, like the ATG that I ran. I couldn't move it any closer to the edge of that gray paper than it already is. So I'm stuck with the paper as it is. So now I'm just finally placing these words, and I want them all left justified over here, and I just want them to look spaced nicely. And the word tail is, of course, on the floral paper. There we go. I had to put down the dots in the eyes because they were making them too tall compared to all the other letters. When you're dotting your eye, a good way to decide how far above the eye the dot should go, look at the letters beside it. See how the L beside the I and tail. I don't want my eye to be much taller than the L, so that's how you decide. And the same with the I in Cheshire. I don't want that dot on the I to go much higher than the H. Ideally, I would want it exactly the same, but it won't. There won't be enough space between the dot and the I if I did it that way. So I'm pulling out some more brads here. I had a hard enough time finding the brads that I found, and so I decided to try to find even more that match with this layout. So I decided to make to put just one enamel dot on that brad instead of the two. I was a little overdone. So I'm just picking out an assortment of shapes and sizes of brads. I have these brads from way back when I started scrapbooking. Most of them, only a few of them, are from newer collections from the past couple of years. So I'm kind of trying to pick some softer colors that are in the floral paper that's on the layout. So I'm looking for some pinks, some light blues, some greens, and I'm clustering them in 3 different places. And the 3 different places are very different from where I would normally put them. So normally I would want clusters to kind of guide your eye around the page. But in this case, I'm going to put all 3 clusters up towards the top of the page, which does leave a rather unbalanced page. But I guess a topsy-turvy, unbalanced layout isn't that terrible for an Alice in Wonderland layout. That's what I'm going with. Here I am, I'm just twisting the clock so that it's not straight. I want the clock to be kind of on a crazy angle. I don't want it exactly straight or exactly upside down. I want it on a crazy angle. So these are some enamel dots that I had in my stash, and they're actually enamel hexagons, and they're really cute. So I'm putting them so that they form a little triangle amongst my little cluster. I'm mindful of the fact that I'm really scattering a lot of things in close proximity to one another. I'm kind of reminding myself of the old sticker sneeze that we used to do back when we first started scrapbooking, where you just kind of like spread things out everywhere instead of having them in a cluster that makes any good sense. I'm kind of clustering them in a way that doesn't necessarily make very good sense, is what I'm trying to say. However, I like how it looks, and I guess you don't always have to follow the rules. I guess that's all that I really need to say. I am spreading some black in each of these clusters just to ground it and give it a little bit more detail to draw your eye up, because otherwise the brads kind of blend in with the floral, because most of them are falling on the floral background. So the little bits of black just kind of catch your eye and draw your eye to the attention of the little details of the other brads and enamel dots that are in each of those clusters. So I had to just move that brad over a little bit. It was a little too close to the other one. So the cluster on the right was all close together, and then the cluster on the left was all spread out. So I just moved that one brad, made quite a big difference. And then I had an enamel dot in each cluster, so I wanted to put an enamel dot in the 3rd cluster as well, down by the word tail. And now this is where my journaling is going to go. I will read it to you as I write it out there on the screen. It says, although we had decided 1 play per year was enough for our family, Liv was invited to audition for the spring production of Alice in Wonderland at Unicorn Theatre. How fun to be the tale of the Cheshire Cat, and what an honor to be asked. So yes, we had made a decision, and Olivia was happy with the decision. Like, she wasn't happy about it, but she was willing to live with the decision that she wouldn't be in the spring play. And then the director called and asked us why Olivia hadn't auditioned, and said that she was so looking forward to Olivia being a part of this upcoming production and growing her skills and all that kind of thing. And as a parent, how can you really say no to that kind of a of an opportunity. So there was a bit of guilt going on there, and we said yes. We don't usually get guilted into making decisions for our family, but in this case we kind of did. But it worked out for the best, and we had a lot of fun. One thing we realized is that it's actually easier to be a part of the spring production because it takes a lot they have longer to prepare, and so it doesn't feel quite as rushed as the fall production. So anyhow, I'm just touching this up with some gold Heidi Swap Color Shine. And I just used my mat instead of my cake box. I'm getting a little lazy with my sprinkles. So I started to show it up close, but don't worry, I'm going to do a little tiny bit more. It just didn't feel quite finished. So then I noticed these stickers sitting over to my left and thought I'm going to put one on each of these photos. Again, it'll give me a nice visual triangle, and it will break up some of the darkness. There's kind of like two dark strips on the two lower photos, like there's the stage and then the ceiling. And these stickers just break that up. And then I decided, why do one when you can do two? So I just put two stickers on each of them. It again covers up even more of that black space that I was trying to cover, mostly on the bottom photos. But then if you do it on the bottom, I wanted to do it on the top too. And I was wondering if any of my viewers of this video were able to catch the little photo bomb that is in one of the photos on this picture, on this layout. So if you can find the little photo bomb that's happening in one of these photos, let me know in a comment, because I'm curious to see if it's obvious. I know some of you who follow me on Instagram might have already seen it, but there will be some photos at the end too. I'm really taking my time showing this to you guys. So this is my layout for the bingo challenge. I love bingo challenges. They're so much fun. I love that it's kind of like a recipe, but you still get to choose which parts of it you're going to follow. So if you're not already, please be sure to join our National Scrapbooking Day challenges. We have awesome prizes. The prize for this particular challenge is a Scraptastic Kit Club kit. So make sure that you check out all the festivities that are going on over on my Facebook page, because there will be 6 challenges. Some of them will have a YouTube video and some of them will not. Moira has done a really great job of organizing and coming up with a really exciting timeline for today. So check us out over on Facebook. Here's the link. Take care. Have a great scrappy day. Bye.